A fledgling video game company called Capcom had very little faith in 1987 that a young robot clad in blue armor would be a success in the gaming market. Fortunately for us, it was given a limited release in Japan and blew sales numbers out of the water, thus getting commissioned to be released in the United States. Everything went great, the game flew off the shelves, sales numbers went up. Correct? Wrong. Because Mega Man's complicated history tells a different story. The game flopped. Partly due to the fact that the front cover had very little to do with Mega Man and featured a man in a yellow and blue suit holding a gun. It was drawn in 6 hours. And if it wasn't for the power of word of mouth, Mega Man would have been a one and done game. And am I glad for those people who talked up the first game, because the original series was given 10 sequels, each one adding something different than the last installment. In fact, they released 5 games in 6 years. But with that, things would get stale by the 5th or 6th installment, or at least I've heard. And a new system had just been released in Japan in 1990 and 1991 in the US and Japan respectively. It was only a matter of time before the 8-bit generation would be gone, and with new technology came more innovations in gaming. Mario, Kirby, and so many others had received upgrades. How could they make an almost perfect game series even better? How about releasing a sequel series about a kick-ass robot named X? When I first acquired the game as a young child, I thought Mega Man and X were one and the same. I mean, they look the same, but X is actually introduced as a first of his kind. A robot that can think and make decisions on his own. Which begs the question, would he follow the #1 rule for robots? They don't attack people. Dr. Light, in the prologue, actually fears the potential repercussions and seals X away to test his reliability. And it will take 30 years to test, so Dr. Light acknowledges that he may not live to see the day and asks others not to disrupt the capsule until X's reliability is measured. This occurs on September 18th, 20XX. But in the year 21XX, Dr. Kane finally finds the remains of the lab and revives him. He then goes on to create other Maverick Hunters such as Sigma, who goes rogue and assembles a team of former Maverick Hunters, and it's up to X to stop him, and this is where the game really starts off. The first time I heard the music, I was so entranced. My siblings and I waited anxiously to get a turn at the title, wishing the other person would fall in a pit or lose their health all the way until Mega Man dies. Like every Mega Man game before, it's a side-scrolling platformer. You use your Mega Buster to destroy enemy robots and progress through the game. But this time, it's different. You can now climb on walls, so you no longer have to worry about pits, unless you are very bad at the game, or a small child. Every level is completely different from the last. Levels with snow, levels with lava, and even one where you're on an airship. The game even introduces new enemies, and some beloved classic enemies from the original series. In my opinion, the easiest of the boss fights is Chill Penguin, and I would challenge myself by going in with 1 HP, because his moves are easy to dodge. Plus, you get the leg armor upgrade, which is a dash that replaces the slide from the original series. You'll be able to dash across walls, which is a useful tool for all speedrunners who want to learn the iceless jump in Boomer Quanger's stage. A cool concept that I found was when you defeated certain bosses, you would affect other levels. For example, the lava in Flame Mammoth's level is completely frozen over after defeating Chill Penguin, and destroying Storm Eagle makes the mini-boss in Spark Mandrill a piece of cake. The 16-bit era's technology was a huge step up from its 8-bit counterpart, and with that came many ways to make video games more versatile, and Mega Man X was no different. He would receive a Mega Buster upgrade, a helmet upgrade, an armor upgrade, and the leg upgrade I mentioned before. With that, critics were weary that these new additions would make the game far too easy and drive down its replayability. For many people playing the game for the first time, you might have missed the Buster upgrade in Flame Mammoth stage. But that's okay, because Zero sacrifices himself and gives you his upgrade instead. And there's a young version of me that would charge a shot in his honor. The music in that level, or that part particularly, is so somber that it's kind of hard not to feel sad for your fallen comrade. I can really appreciate the graphical quality of this game, and feel that the developers did a great job of keeping the aesthetics of the original Mega Man, while also adding a bit of edge to the 16-bit version. Musically, I would put this OST up there as the best of all time in a video game. And usually, Mega Man has some kick-ass OSTs in my opinion. I especially love Boomer Kuwanger's stage music, and it always gets me in the mood to blast some robots. The only complaint I have about the game is the dreaded Spider Boss, who I learned recently uses a ladder game from Japan for its attack. And even knowing that it was still hard, the only way to attack it is with shotgun ice, or a buster charge to the face with its eyes open, or the mighty Hadouken, a hidden weapon in the game from Street Fighter II, another Capcom release. Firing Ryu's Hadouken at most enemies will kill them in one shot, and the Spider Boss is no different. I remember hearing about it from my cousin and other kids in the playground, but up until 2017, I thought it was just a story that kids told without any evidence to back up their claim. But with the power of the internet, I found it, and it definitely makes the game a whole lot easier. As far as replay value goes, it's one that I always come back to, whether in a Buster only run with no hard upgrades, which makes your health meter go up, or sub-tanks, which is an upgraded E-tank from the original series that you can refill over and over. It makes for a great challenge, as the final boss, which is Sigma's head attached to a wolf, takes 32 consecutive shots to the head from a charged Buster. To defeat him, you have to dodge lightning orbs, fire, claws, all trying to kill you, and to me, it was one of the most satisfying victories in gaming I have ever had. I'm even considering the speedrun, which I hope happens soon. Mega Man X is one of my favorite games of all time, and would recommend it to any Mega Man fan or a fan of the Super Nintendo, as it was a staple in mine and my siblings' childhood. It's graphically one of the best Super Nintendo games, and I feel the music and gameplay was ahead of its time. If you want a challenge, try a Buster only run or a speedrun, because it's one of the technically superior speedruns in my opinion. As far as replay value goes, it's one that I always come back to, whether in a Buster only run with no hard upgrades, which makes your health meter go up, or sub-tanks, which is an upgraded E-tank from the original series that you can refill over and over. It makes for a great challenge, as the final boss, which is Sigma's head attached to a wolf, takes 32 consecutive shots to the head from a charged Buster. To defeat him, you have to dodge lightning orbs, fire, claws, all trying to kill you, and to me, it was one of the most satisfying victories in gaming I have ever had. I'm even considering the speedrun, which I hope happens soon. Mega Man X is one of my favorite games of all time, and would recommend it to any Mega Man fan or a fan of the Super Nintendo, as it was a staple in mine and my siblings' childhood. It's graphically one of the best Super Nintendo games, and I feel the music and gameplay was ahead of its time. If you want a challenge, try a Buster only run or a speedrun, because it's one of the technically superior speedruns in my opinion. Thank you again for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell to see more content, and join me on twitch.tv/rezaretro for all things retro gaming. Yes!